Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Kulavani Pracharine Vivishesha Shunyavadi Paschachare Shatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya da 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 da. Jaya Nita Gola Nita Gola Hani Gola Hani. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki,
Prem Sigahas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Bhaktarindaki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Shri Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Srimati Vaishnavi Priya Devi Dasi Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to their devotees. All glories to their simul devotees. All glories to their simul devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the third day memorial for Her Grace Vaisnava Priya Devi Dasi on behalf of her family and her husband who's seated with us, George Narayan Kupasamy, and the daughters of Karunamai and Gopeshwari Devi Dasi. So it is a somber mood, but we also understand that the soul is ever eternal and spiritual, and therefore we are here this afternoon to actually celebrate the life of Vaishnava Priya Devi Dasi, who's lived such an upstanding life in terms of spirituality, in terms of God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and also being an initiated disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. Today we are also very fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami with us to share a few words, and Maharaj is the Governing Body Commissioner for South Africa and also the chairman of the GBC internationally. So we are fortunate and we're grateful also for your time this afternoon, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Her Grace Vaishnavi Priya Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Well, thank you devotees for coming to participate in this nice program. As we heard, we're not just, even though it's a sad occasion, but we're not here just to lament, but actually on a deeper level we're here to celebrate the life of a very nice devotee, very sincere devotee, who, there's the famous saying, you can judge a tree by its fruits. So in this sense, the fruits, so to speak, are two very, very nice daughters who I know really extremely well. Really nice young ladies and just really nice devotees. So Vaishnavi Priya is the mother of them, and there's no doubt whatsoever that a lot of what they have become is due to her association, her input, her guidance and inspiration like that as their mother in Krishna consciousness. So that's really wonderful. It's much better than in material life you get people who do so many different material things and they become very influential, maybe powerful even, wealthy, famous, and so many people are impressed by them. But the result, the life of a devotee like Vaishnavi Priya Devi Dasi is just so much better and so much greater. Ultimately, there's no room for comparison even, but certainly it's really the life of a devotee, particularly a devotee who leaves like two daughters like this. It's such an achievement. It's far beyond becoming some supposedly impressive and famous materialist who's not a devotee. So when these things happen, there's always, I would say always, or at the very least, very regularly, certain verses and parts of Srila Prabhupada's books which we refer to and we focus on naturally, because in certain respects Krishna consciousness is addressing just the situation that we're facing today. So for example, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita it's sort of like standard material, you could say, on occasions like this. And that's right. That's wonderful, because it's truly so extremely appropriate. So if you'll allow me, first of all, let me do just that. Refer to a few verses from Bhagavad Gita. First of all, I'll read perhaps the most famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 13. Dehi nosmin yata dehe, kumaram yovanam jara, tata dehantara praptiya, dhiras tatra na muyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. And yes, okay, so, well, let me just say one thing that I remember, that I am aware of. We had here in Durban for many years one really wonderful devotee, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who did huge amounts of service for Prabhupada. That was Shamlal Prabhu. But the material world being what it is, his time came eventually, and it was quite an extraordinary thing to witness, because I knew him very well. And during that time leading up to his departure, I would see him every few months. I was traveling a lot, but I would see him regularly every few months when I came back. And eventually he fell into a coma, which he was in for approximately 3 months, something like that. It could even have been a bit longer. So he was basically just immobilized, at least externally in all respects. But then one day, one of his daughters told us, and one of the nurses was present, because he was in a hospital the entire time for those months. He's just unconscious in a coma. Suddenly, he sat up and said, "Hare Krishna." And then that was it. On the spot, he passed away. So, Krishna's very kind to his devotees. Krishna's very kind. And this particular verse here, chapter 2, verse 13, is really very important, because it explains how a devotee can meet this sort of time in a completely different state of mind to your just average person who's walking around the shopping center across the road. As Krishna says here, a sober person is not bewildered by such a change, means the change of body at the time of death. And I'm going to read another one or two couple of verses into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Generally, the only place you really find such concepts in Scripture is in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, generally, the great majority of people, when they think of religion, in so many cases at least, they think that we will pray to God and get material things. We will pray to God, we will get money, we will get good health, and all these types of very materialistic things, and we will get them just for our own enjoyment in life on the bodily platform, as if we were these bodies. But in Krishna consciousness, immediately from the very outset, we're taken to a different level, this level that these few verses we just read are on, that actually we're all eternal spiritual persons. These bodies are simply vehicles. But generally people, at least the vast majority, they make this huge mistake of thinking that I am this body, this is who I am. So anything in life, be it just my work, or be it God in my life, the only place God has in my life, really, is to give me material things. But Krishna consciousness begins from a step beyond that point, the eternal transcendental platform. And then it's a matter of how one lives. Here's another verse from Bhagavad Gita. It's really important verse. Well, 2 verses. I'll read verse 8th chapter, verse 6, and then 8th chapter, verse 5. Verse 6, I'll just read the translation. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. And then actually the previous verse, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So Vaishnavi Priya, she was such a person. She was a very dedicated devotee, very pious lady, and very much fixed in Krishna consciousness. I would personally see her from time to time, not so often, but from time to time. And she always seemed to be very Krishna conscious to me. Really, really very nice. And I always felt happy, actually, to get her association. She was initiated by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. She was very dedicated to him within her heart. Just a very good, at the same time humble devotee doing her duties at home in Krishna consciousness. And we're reminded of a person who was at the other end of the scale, the famous or infamous Ajamil, who lived such a shocking life, just like the polar opposite of Vaishnavi Priya. I mean, just a hopeless life, absolutely hopeless. But somehow or other, he named a child of his, born in his old age, he named him Narayan, a name of Lord Krishna. And when the time of death finally did actually come, and he was just overwhelmed and bewildered, and he didn't know what to do and what to say, and it was just too much for him. So all that he could think of, all that just came to his mind, was his little son Narayan. So he called out, Narayan, Narayan, help. Narayan, his son, was 5. Ajamil was surrounded by a gang of Yamadutas, really horrific, hellish-looking beings, really disgusting, ghastly beings, who were in the process of trying to tear him out of the body. Oh, what a shocking, incredible, beyond shocking situation. So he called out, Narayan, Narayan, meaning his son, 5-year-old child, who of course would not have been able to do anything at all to stop a gang of Yamadutas, but that's all he could think of doing. And then the Vishnu Dutas, the messengers of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, came and delivered him from those Yamadutas and saved him. And actually, Ajamil did not die. It was what they call a near-death experience. He was on the edge, but actually didn't die, and he lived on. But because he'd had that experience, he became a very serious devotee. Very serious devotee. Just for a short period of time, because he was already an old man. And then he passed away, and then he went back to Godhead. So, but otherwise, up until that time, perhaps just a few months before he actually finally died, he was deeply focused in Krishna consciousness. So there, I want to read another 2 verses. It's really the right time for reading some verses from Shastra to really kind of cement as firmly as possible in our hearts and minds what is really the situation which we're observing today and celebrating today. So this is now the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, verses 47 and 48 first of all, then I'll read verse 49. Because this very confidential historical narration about Ajamil and his being saved from the Yamadutas and then finally dying, because it has the potency to vanquish all sinful reactions, one who hears or describes it with faith and devotion, please note that, one who hears with faith and devotion is no longer doomed to hellish life, regardless of his having a material body and regardless of how sinful he may have been. Indeed, the Yamadutas, who carry out the orders of Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, they do not approach him even to see him. After giving up his body, he returns home back to Godhead, where he is very respectfully received and worshipped. And verse 49, while suffering at the time of death, Ajamil chanted the holy name of the Lord. And although the chanting was directed toward his son, he nevertheless returned home back to Godhead. Therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively chants the holy name of the Lord, where is the doubt that he will return to Godhead? You know, one could say this is very comforting under these circumstances, the passing away of someone who we knew very well and was close to us. But it's not just a matter of being comforting, although it is comforting, but it's more than that. It's revealing the actual reality that if someone who led such an extremely bad life could achieve such an extremely high goal of life, the highest goal, then how could it be that someone like Vaishnava Priya, Devi, Dasi, a very faithful, sincere devotee who is just regularly chanting every day, how can where is the doubt that such a devotee will return to Godhead? This is Shukadev Goswami speaking. So this is something very nice, it's something very important, because it should be an inspiration for us to follow in her footsteps and cultivate our Krishna consciousness steadfastly, enthusiastically, like that. So there you are, devotees. These are some words from myself on this occasion. Her Grace Vaishnava Priya Devi Dasi Ke, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for delivering some words this afternoon. And as Maharaj has said, that although it brings us comfort to actually understand the soul and the lifetime of a devotee, but we also see in the life of Her Grace Vaishnava Priya Dasi that she's lived an exemplary life through example. Just to give you some background on Vaishnava Priya, she joined the 10 campaign, joined ISKCON via the 10 campaign in mid-1970s in the Tongat area. And at that time, as we all know, the 10 campaign was quite famous as, a draw card, something that His Holiness Parthasarati Das Goswami Maharaj took under his leadership, and so many devotees came to ISKCON via that method. So Vaishnava Priya Mataji, as well as her husband, joined the 10 campaign in Tonga in mid-1970s, and thereafter she served in various capacities, and many of us, especially if we were attending the Rath Yatra Festival of Chariots, we'd find Mataji serving at the Govinda's restaurant there. And she did so with such love for long hours, just in the background, doing service at whatever level that she could. And, just with that mood of service to the festival, to the Vaishnavas, and quietly going about such service. Festivals, the love feast, food for life, she was very attached to those services. And then she eventually took initiation from His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami in March of 2018. But she was aspiring for initiation for many years prior to that. And she's been unwell for a while, but in April this year, from April, she really took ill and passed on the 31st of December around 10 to 8 in the morning. And as Maharaj has said, that in her lifetime, her relationships, just show her children, her daughters, her granddaughters. It's exemplified. We don't have to say much in terms of who she was, because the spirit of motherhood is shown by the exemplary daughters that she's raised. And in today's world of materialism, to have two young women who are so exemplary in terms of their material, their professional, and most importantly, their spiritual lives, it actually echoes the person that Vaishnava Priya Mataji was. So we're here this afternoon to celebrate and honor her in the best way that we can in this beautiful temple that was really close to her. And Gopi mentioned to me earlier that when she married, and 2 years after, or 1985, Karunamaya was born, and 2 years on, Gopi was born, and the parents used to bring them to this Radha Radhanath temple when it was under construction. So this is Mataji's home. Her heart is here, and we are here to celebrate and honor her today. So on that note, I'd like to invite His Grace Aravinda Prabhu to come forward. He also had many years of association with Mataji in the Tongat area, and we'll hear from him now. Aravinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pastyatya Satarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Niti Namine. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody. So I moved to Tongat in 1986. You can just imagine coming to Tongat, not being Krishna conscious. And the first contact I had with Krishna consciousness happened to be with these wonderful devotees. Vasanta Mataji, that like we knew her at that time. Vasanta is the dawn of spring, and you can understand in spring all these beautiful flowers and the lovely colorful flowers and the beautiful aroma. And you think about the swan-like devotee, and there was this beautiful flower, Vasanta Mataji, who held my hand in Krishna consciousness in so many ways. And I'm so grateful to Vasanta Mataji because I was somehow asked to do some service in Tongat, to serve the devotees in Tongat, and for many years I've been doing that. And when you have this kind of service to do to devotees and to the communities, you rely on devotees. And these were some of the trusted devotees like Vaisnava Priya, Devi Dasi Mataji. Krishangi Mataji was talking about the Rath Yatra festival, and you would go there and you'll see her. She was our chief cashier. And, at that time, we want to keep account of all the monies that we collect. My job was to collect the money from the tills. I would just go grab the money from all the tills. But when I came to her till, she said, wait, I didn't count it yet, Prabhu. So she would make sure that she would count the money, and at the end of the day, she would tell me how much came out of her till. And she was so happy about that. But it wasn't that you just see her there at the festival every year. 2 to 3 weeks before that, she and Rasalika Mataji and all the other ladies in the Namahata will meet Rasalika Mataji in Mandeni, leaving the families behind in the homes, and they would prepare the sweets and the kachoris and all of those things that they would sell to cover the cost of the Rath Yatra festival. So Vaisnava Priya Mataji was an exemplary devotee. What to speak about Rath Yatra? We had the annual 10 campaign program. These programs used to go on for 5 days, 5 consecutive days. And each day would just get bigger and bigger. And the prep work for that would be led by these devotees. And she was one of those leading devotees, would make sure that everything is cleaned out, ready for the cooks. And she used to help with the cooking. Her health wasn't so good, but she would do more than able-bodied people like myself. Wonderful devotee. And so she would be there from the beginning of the program, even before the program starts, weeks before, raising funds and making sure that everything is taken care of nicely. Then we used to have the Food for Life program, which in 2002, Bhakti Swami started the feeding. He asked me to do something for the blacks in South Africa. And he said, let's start in our little way. Let's do something for them. And he said, I will sponsor the first 500 plates of prasadam for the first month, and then we take it from there. And then I got the devotees together, and guess what? Once again, Vaisnavi Priya Mataji was one of those leading devotees that used to help us clean and have things ready. And 2002, Karuna and Gopi, who was still very young, in the early teens. Now you think about it, if I ask you now to go into the Shell Cross squatter camps, how many of you will volunteer to go there? But we, Vaisnava Priya, George Prabhu, and the girls will jump into my bakki with prasadam and we'll go into township where no Indians ventured into before. And we would go there and distribute chant. Maharaj's instruction to us was to chant for 20 minutes, So it's a place that no Indians ventured into. You don't know what to expect. We would go there, we'd chant for 20 minutes, and then we would serve prasad. And she used to come along. And there were times when she used to send the girls without even being present. Now, would you do that, send your teenage daughters into a township? Why did she do that? Because she had firm faith in Krishna. She knew that Krishna was there, her daughters were safe, and all of us were safe. This is a kind of swan-like devotee we're talking about, who we missed. And I remember when it comes to the love feast programs at Sri Sri Radha Radhanath and at New Jagannath Puri Temple, she'd be very instrumental. And one thing she'll remind me is to make sure that there is prasadam for the devotees, like a breakfast kind of prasadam, because you can only eat at the end of the program. And that means that we've got to come here early and fast for all of that time. But there were devotees that were getting older, and she would remind me, why don't you cook something? She would sponsor it. All of these things happen in the background, and you think about it. I'm just thinking, when I came to Tongat in 1986, she was an established devotee then. Everybody looked up to her. In her last days, we wanted to do something for her, but due to COVID and all the circumstances surrounding that, we couldn't go to her physically, but we always remembered her. Ram Sharan Prabhu would take prasadam to her regularly. We would, whenever we cooked the Saturday feeding, we would make sure we set aside a portion for Mataji, and George Prabhu will come pick it up. Sometimes we would go there and we drop it for her, and she appreciated the prasadam coming to her. So we think about, was Krishna there at that time? There were no devotees. Well, I'm not quite sure who was exactly present there, but because of the circumstance, many devotees couldn't be present there. Was she thinking about Krishna at that time? If you think about all these services that she's done, even if she wasn't thinking about Krishna, do you think Krishna would have forgotten her? No. Krishna would have remembered her for all of these services that she's done. In her mind, nothing else mattered to her. All that she knew, that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and she was completely surrendered unto Krishna. I will miss this. Devotee, my god sister, and in our mad way, we had a very special relationship. She never saw faults in anybody. She always encouraged me in my Krishna consciousness. She always helped me in the service that I had to do. So I appreciate her. I have no doubt that today she is with Krishna, who she aspired to be with all her life, and that's where she is. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Aravinda Prabhu. And, just listening to you, what came to mind was, if you look at her daughters, Gopi and Karunamai, and how Karunamai is raising her two daughters in Krishna consciousness. And just listening to those early experiences, and we speaking now about Rath Yatra festival, but if you look back at all that service, as minute as we thought it was, but it impacted so many lives. And today, can we honestly look and say, would we do the same thing? Would we follow our Guru Maharaj's instructions like she has? And I know that, just you relating those past times and those early days, it was with the support of her husband, George Prabhu, who's here. And now helping raise the grandchildren, Karuneshwari and Karunika. It's that loving relationship that she has imbibed in her daughters to actually progress spiritually. So all of this exemplifies, the spirit of Vaishnavi Priya Mataji. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing with us. Smita Krishna Prabhu, who's also a god brother to Vaishnava Priya Mataji, we'd like to invite you to come forward at this time. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Charu Swami iti namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj ki jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. The passing of a devotee in one sense is unfortunate that we come to know so much about the devotee's involvement in Krishna consciousness at these occasions. Aravinda Prabhu has spoken, and he was speaking as a Namahata leader of Tangat, even he was mentioning his services. So through that interaction, he knew Vaishnava Priya Mataji, and of course as his god sister. Mataji waited 40 years to be initiated, 2018. And I remember Krishna Charan Prabhu, my brother, god brother, was saying that because of her ill health, that she wanted at initiation to even come and sit on the floor, but my Guru Maharaj is saying, give her a chair, let her sit on the chair, and so on. In the pastoral interaction of my Guru Maharaj and disciples, whenever he would come to the country, he would always be involved in projects. So he would meet with leading devotees for projects, and they would often be with him. And there were many other devotees who were not directly involved in the projects, then they would not have that much interaction with him. But I recall that whenever and wherever, we spoke about Ratha Yatra already, whenever there was these disciples' gatherings at Sunil Mohan and Hemangi Mataji's house, then both Prabhu and Mataji would always be there. And I'd stop to say, how are you, Mataji, and so on, knowing that her health was poor. But you'd never hear her complain about her health. Just today we met somebody at a program in Pietermaritzburg, and all we had to say was, how are you? And that unleashed a whole flurry of all of his pains and problems and knee and back and this and that, right? So we had to listen for a while. But with Mataji, when you asked her, then she said, okay, Prabhu, we're doing all right, we're doing okay, and so on. And should never complain about that at all. And should always wish devotees well. Some time back I wrote a little article called The Incognito Devotee. Everybody in our community has met the incognito devotee, the one who is quiet, the one who you hear from others later, that is, that devotee made me a devotee, that devotee gave me prasad, that devotee gave me a book, that devotee told me to become serious, that devotee set the example, that devotee was like a mother or father to me. But they're not members of management. They're not big gurus or leaders. They're not prominently in the front line. One time Bhakti Caitanya Swami asked me to get involved in service, and I said to Maj, I'd like to stay in the background. And he said to me, in Krishna consciousness, the background is the foreground. So, in the same way, the point is that although Mataji was not in any of these official positions, but in Krishna's eyes, she was in the foreground. And therefore, we are very, very sad that she's left us, but at the same time, we know that she's contributed immensely to the lives of her immediate family, to the lives of the community, and to have somebody being so steady for such a long time is exemplary. So on behalf of the disciples of my Guru Maharaj, the disciples of Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, we want to extend our condolences, our prayers, our glorification of Mataji. And when a devotee like Mataji passes away, then rather than offering prayers for her, we offer prayers to her. So we want to also ask on this occasion, dear Vaishnava Priya Mataji, please give us an iota of your commitment, your dedication, your love, your tolerance, and your compassion, so that we can also, without any false ego, proceed on our path. And hopefully by that example and that kind of commitment, we too can help to spread Krishna consciousness, and in that way please the spiritual master and the spiritual masters. Vande Gurun is plural. Vande Gurun, plural, the spiritual masters. We want to also wish the family the strength to continue in Krishna consciousness. Although we have all of this philosophy and we have been engaged in so much of service like Karunamaya and Kapishwari, Deva. I mean, he's so exemplary, right? He's such etiquette. He arranged the garlands for the speakers. I was just watching that. It's like so heartwarming. So although we have all of that engagement in service, but still it's your mom. And feelings of your heart, feelings of pain and separation are there. And therefore that experience, although underpinned by your understanding, is a deep emotion. And it's these emotions of the heart that help us to become deeper in our emotions to Krishna. So we do not negate them. We are also fortunate that you have had the shelter of His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj, who has extended himself to the disciples of Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj also in his passing, and very, very compassionate in that I also was the recipient of his mercy. He made a phone call personally to me to ask me how I am managing after the passing of my Guru Maharaj. And all those are very, very much appreciated. And therefore we can all be very, very safe and secure under the shelter of all of these great Vaishnavas, whose prayers for us while we are living and prayers for us when we pass are the ultimate offerings that will attract the mercy of Krishna to keep us closer to Him. Vaishnavi Priya Mataji, please bless us all. And we take a leaf out of your book in terms of your devotional commitment. Hare Krishna, Vaishnavi Priya Mataji ki jai, Srila Bhakti Chara Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Smita Krishna Prabhu. And it's also heartwarming to understand that we could sit together like this afternoon and share, and makes us think about the founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who truly has built a house in which the whole world can live in. And just from Smita Krishna Prabhu's words, we can, share that strength and that encouragement from each other here, and get that strength to understand, although these emotions are deeply seated in our heart, but with this kind of association and remembrance, it actually eases the pain just a little bit. Thank you so much, Smita Krishna Prabhu. Ananda Vrindavan Dasi, if you could come forward now, that her relationship with Vaishnava Priya Mataji also dates way back, and I'm sure that you will take us through some memories also from the Tongat area, and also share with us sweetly this afternoon. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Vanchakapa Sharubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I just want to say that I spend a lot of time with many different types of people in this world, different races, different religions. But one thing I want to say, that the Vaishnavas are the most caring, the most loving, the most compassionate people that you can come across. And one of those Vaishnavas is Karunamai and Gopeshwari's mom, and Devadeva Prabhu's mother-in-law, Vaishnava Priya Mataji. We knew her as Vasanta Mataji before, and then in 2018, she became Vaishnava Priya Mataji. I'm so honored to have known her, because when you're a devotee and you join the devotee families, everybody's mother becomes your mother, everybody's children become your children. And Mataji was like our mother, and spent a lot of time talking to her, and she'd say, I'd like to, the one thing I always like to ask people is, how did they meet the couples? So she told me that she met George Prabhu. He was working in Telcom, and Mataji was working in Whiteheads. Some of the Whiteheads people, I was so amazed that in the funeral, that after so many years, some of the Whiteheads devotees were there to show that, her friendships were so long-standing and so appreciated. And then Mataji was selling some sort of raffle tickets, and she couldn't sell it, and then she gave it to George Prabhu. And he amazed her, because he sold it in like one day. And then that's where they met. And she went back and she asked him how he did it. And then he had this long story of how he can do things. And that's how they met. And then that was 1981 when they met. And then they got married in 1984. And then Karunamai was born, and then Gopeshwari. But what I can tell you about Mataji, she trained those children so well. I'm honored to know Karunamai and Gopeshwari and Devadeva Prabhu, because Karunamai, in my eyes, she's one of the best cooks in ISKCON. She can try anything, she doesn't even fright, because she was so well trained by her mother. And my personal example of what I like is what I learned to like from Karunamai was Brussels sprouts. When Guru Maharaj used to come for the 10 campaigns in Tongat, well, I was in that group, fortunately, but they were the cooks. I'll just run around with them. And Karunamai we go through the books, and Guru Maharaj will tell us, like, I want this, and I want that, and I want that. And Karunamai, she just never used to be afraid, and she'll just ask Karunamai, what do you want? And one of the favorite things was trifle. And Karunamai will just go out of her way, and she'll make it because she was so like well-trained by her mother. And Gopeshwari too. And that's what I appreciated about Mataji, because she let the children become so good devotees in the fact that they used to serve the pure devotees, the temple devotees, even devotees like fallen devotees like me. And what I appreciate the most is that when my mother left her body in 2019, besides Karunamai being a doctor and coming home and checking on my mother, making the time to come and see my mother from so far away in Durban, well, Durban to Tonga after work is tiring. These three devotees, they did the biggest favor for me by taking my mother's ashes and immersing it in Sri Vrindavan Dham. It touched my heart so much. And that all comes from Vaisnava Priya Mataji and George Prabhu, because they trained their children so well to serve in every way possible. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank Karunamai, Gopeshwari, Devi Dasi, Deva Prabhu, George Prabhu, and I pray that Krishna and Srimati Radharani stands with you all the way. Days may not be easy, some days are difficult, but I pray that the mercy of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga is with you always. Thank you very much.
Her Grace Vaisnava Priya Dasi ki. Thank you, Ananda Vrindavan. And as I rightfully said, she was going to share some sweet memories with us, sweet pastimes. And again, Karunamai, you've got a lot of good memories, Gopeshwari, and the devotees are actually sharing that here. And so what I can say is that Vaisnava Priya Mataji has left a legacy in her children, and we're definitely going to see it in her grandchildren also. If she has raised her two daughters as such, I know without doubt that Karunamai will do the same, and Deva Prabhu will do the same for their daughters. So this home, Srila Prabhupada ISKCON, is going to be taken forward by this kind of generation. And we see that Vaisnava Priya Mataji, she's really left her footprint and her hand in the hearts of so many. I'm now going to try to play a voice note. I don't know, Smita Krishna Prabhu, if there's going to be feedback, I'm not sure. We could try from my phone. This is a voice note from Doha. This is George Prabhu's relative. This is a voice note that comes from Karunamai and Ishwari's cousin. Oh, we've got a cable, so thank you so much, Anandamai Prabhu. This is from George Prabhu's niece. She's currently in Doha, and she'll be arriving back in South Africa in a few days. So Anandamai Prabhu is going to arrange a cable, but in the meantime, I'm not sure if Gopeshwari, if you'd like to come forward. I know that she's prepared something, and she's also would like to, unless you've got the cable now. So, okay, we're good to go with this. And then we'll hear from Gopi and also the vote of thanks at the same time. But we'll now play this a voice note from Rita. Okay, can I forward it maybe to Smita Krishna Prabhu? Do you? 9%. Deva Prabhu? My phone doesn't support this. Okay, Gopi's got. Yeah, if we could use. Aravinda Prabhu. I'll forward it to, you can forward it to Aravinda? Yeah, I've got, but she's got it on hand. Okay. Thanks to technology. Gopeshwari will just forward that voice note in a moment. We could see that just from all the remembrance and, the sharing this afternoon, that there's so much more I think as Smita Krishna Prabhu has highlighted in his talk that, Mataji was in the background. And so often we see those people in the foreground that would be at the busyness of the festival, sitting at meetings and so on. But Mataji did the hard work in the background. Okay, so we good to go. Let's try and play. This is a message from Rita, who's George Prabhu's niece.
Hello everyone, my name is Rita. I am the niece of Uncle George and Auntie Vasanta. It's always so difficult to speak when you lose someone you love, especially since it's Auntie Vasanta who passed away, who's a mum and a wife, and I recently lost my mom as well, so I can definitely empathize with Tanu and Cami. I just want to say to George Uncle and the girls how very sorry I am that they are going through this, but we have to go through this. I mean, everybody has their time, and this was Auntie Vasanta's time. I pray that God gives you the strength to get through this. Don't lose hope, because we will definitely see her again. I remember Auntie Vasanta very fondly. My Uncle George was like a father to me and my brother and sister. He would call us every day from work, and when he met Auntie Vasanta, I knew a special uncle like him would marry a special woman like her. I admired her intelligence, her strong independence, her wit. I will miss her smile, I will miss her laughter, and the way she would call my uncle Coops. I spent a lot of my holidays growing up with them in Vendrova Gardens. I remember a trip we took to Plettenberg Bay with them. It was so much fun. My wish is that we remember her for the fun, loving person that she was before her illness set in. I'm sorry I'm so far away that I cannot be with the family to give them comfort, but know that I am praying for you, and I send you lots of love and light. Good night.
Hare Krishna, and that was the message from Rita, who's George Prabhu's niece. Thank you so much, Anandamai Prabhu, for arranging the cable so we could hear it clearly. I'd now like to invite His Grace Devadeva Prabhu to come forward. As we all know, Devadeva Prabhu is such an exemplary disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami, and who serves in various capacities here at the Sri Sri Radharanath Temple and internationally, and is the son-in-law of Vaisnava Priya Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, Vaishnavi Priya Mataji, I think you all know, is my mother-in-law, come mother. I know her for definitely more than half of my life. I remember the first time I had met her, it was in 2000. It was at the Durban Rath Yatra. And she set her eye on me to marry her daughter. Okay, I'm joking, but maybe it's true, actually. She was extremely, extremely kind, very friendly to me during that Rath Yatra program, and ensured that I had prasadam from that day onwards. She always ensured, even though she may have not cooked it herself, if her daughters would have prepared it, but she always ensured that whenever I came around, which was very often, I would have prasadam. And it's something that I really appreciated. And I saw this quality in her carried through to every devotee that came in contact with her. They always ensured that there was prasad. So now, 22 years later, here I am, and she has left this planet. And what really strikes me is how she always endeavored to do two main things: chant her rounds, even though she was in advanced stages of Alzheimer's. What she couldn't remember us at times, but what she could remember was the holy name. So she would chant constantly. In the last few days, we couldn't understand what she was saying at all, but we could hear Rama, 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 Rama. But her tongue couldn't pronounce the words anymore, but we could hear that at least. So that really struck me, that even in, with advanced stages of Alzheimer's, what she could remember was when she was much younger. She used to call Karuneshwari Kami, which is Karunamai's birth name, Kamalina. So she could remember back in the day, but when you're in this kind of state, what you're most attached to is what you will remember. And it really struck me that she was most attached to chanting the holy names, even though her hands were really deformed with arthritis and osteoporosis. We could see that she was trying to chant, So that's the goal of life. That's the goal of life. We all endeavor to come to the stage where we will chant constantly, day and night. And let me tell you, a few months ago, she would still remember that she didn't finish her 16 rounds, and she would chant the whole day and the whole night, but she still wouldn't finish her 16 rounds. So the vows to the spiritual master was definitely really, or that samskar really left an impression within the heart, which I also appreciate very much. And well, I think if I stand here today and I don't speak of His Holiness Parthasarathi Das Goswami Maharaj, then Vaishnava Priya will probably wring my neck. Parthasarathi Das Goswami Maharaj made her a devotee with his 10 campaigns. He's been the most instrumental senior devotee in her life, definitely. Somehow, she did take initiation from Bhakti Charan Maharaj, who she deeply valued, and she really took his instructions to heart. But she made it known to us in many ways that Parthasarathi Maharaj is her main guru, that she took instruction from and guidance, and she always valued whatever Parthasarathi Maharaj would say, or you would see how she would light up when she would see Parthasarathi Maharaj. So you could see the love that was shared between them. So I thank Parthasarathi Maharaj today. If not for him starting the 10 campaign, I think they joined in the first 10 campaign, if I'm not mistaken, 1974. That's when she joined. And if not for him, where would we be today? Where would Karunamai, Gopeshwari, even me, actually, and even George Prabhu? It's all it's all due to Parthasarathi Maharaj, and we're very appreciative of that. And so the second main thing about Vaishnavi Priya Mataji was her enthusiasm for devotional service, which I hope we kind of imbibing. But she was very driven, even with severe osteoporosis and arthritis. She would use a walker or a crutch, and she would insist that she would go to do the background services, to clean the vegetables and and even distribute prasad, as Aravinda Prabhu nicely said. So I appreciate that even though the body was failing in many ways, we make so many excuses. Today I'm feeling tired, let me not do this, or something like that. Let me not go to the temple. Let me not help with the feast. But even though I knew that her body was failing her in so many ways, she still had enthusiasm for devotional service. So that I deeply appreciate, and I see it within her two good daughters. And even if I get lazy sometimes, I see how Karunamai pushes me. Also something I think she's learned from her mother. So if we take those two things at least from her, there's other things. There's other not so good things too, where she's to scold me. But the main things, if we take those two main things, I think that we can deeply value and appreciate her impact in our life. Back home, back to Godhead, ki jai. Her Grace Vaishnavi Priya Devi Dasi, ki jai. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, ki jai. Patasarti Das Goswami Maharaj, ki jai. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bom.
Thank you so much, Devadeva Prabhu. And from the family, just also such sweet sharing and memories that we remember Mataji this afternoon. And again, those that are amidst us, her children, her grandchildren, her good husband, showcases the life that she has lived and the legacy that she leaves behind. Gopi, I'd like to invite you to come forward now to share with us, as well as move the vote of thanks.
Yeah. Okay. As devotees, we understand in Krishna consciousness, from our reading of Bhagavad Gita, and actually attribute the learning of this verse to you, Aravinda Prabhu, because Aravinda Prabhu introduced verses for us to learn at Namahata, and Mom and I would very, attentively try to learn these verses. I'm not sure if Karuna did. She was always studying straight A student, head prefect, etc. But Mom and I were very enthusiastic about learning these verses, and I learned this verse as a young child with Mom. So it's a verse from Bhagavad Gita 2:20. Najayate mriyate valkadachin nayam bhutva bhavita vanabuya ajo nitya sasvatayam purana nanyate hanyamane sarire. For the soul lays neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. From this verse, we take solace, and Gurudev spoke about this a bit earlier and also the other day at the crematorium, that, for devotees, we understand that the soul is within this body, and once the soul departs from the body is dead. What are we really lamenting here? Because the soul continues. It continues its journey back to Krishna, which we hope has happened with her. So today we'd like to celebrate her Krishna consciousness. And I just want to share some of the key qualities which I think so many other devotees already spoke about, which just entrenches that, it was visible to everyone else, not just, to us who, she imbibed these qualities onto. My first memory as a child was actually with Parthamaraj. I remember sitting on her lap, and I was asleep, and then I woke up and I would hear Maharaj, on the stage preaching during the 10 campaigns. I didn't know what Maharaj looked like, but Mom took us there. I was in her lap. I would wake up in between, disturbed by the kirtan or the sounds from Maharaj speaking, and then I would hear Maharaj's voice. That was one of my earliest memories as a child, and probably my first memory in Krishna consciousness. So all of this was thankfully, by her steadiness and faith in Krishna consciousness, which I very much appreciated. Another thing was that she was always very service-oriented. At Rath Yatra, as Prabhu mentioned, she had really swollen legs just on a daily basis going to work from the arthritis and her myriad of ailments she's had throughout our lives. She always continued. And she was, would be involved way in advance before Rath Yatra even began, making preparations in advance at Rath Yatra, helping to set up as much as possible, serving. Yes, with great enthusiasm, and despite all of these ailments, she just persisted. And that's one quality I really did imbibe, or I hope that we have imbibed it from her. It was very much something that she first introduced to us. I mean, she had really swollen feet, she had bad calluses. I mean, I remember I used to shave them off for her. Even when I moved to Cape Town, she would phone me and she would ask me to please come and help her with that. Her mode of service also continued with prasadam distribution. She would always love serving devotees in this way. Whatever they did enjoy, she would really enjoy making it for them. She had a reputation in the family, and for me especially, making the best roti. Many people learned it from her how to make it, so for me it was the best. And she also would make the best barfi. I remember she would follow it very detailed during Diwali and things, and Karuna would ask her, Mom, can we not just make it easier, can we not put it on the stove or whatever it may be? And she would insist on it being done the right way. That's another quality that I really appreciated, that there was no shortcuts, with her ailments. I mean, in this day and age, I must be honest, I really take a lot of shortcuts. But she really just, never wanted to. She wanted to serve, by the book, yes, and make sure it was as good as possible. I remember one time when I came to Durban, when I was in Cape Town, she insisted on making me jackfruit pakoras, and she had an essential tremor, so the oil would burn every time she would, put a pakora in, just because she made the best jackfruit pakoras, and I loved it. She insisted on making it. So, this was her nature, to always try to serve, despite the impediments, despite the reaction she would get, like, burning her hands. I remember seeing her hands, both her hands, the burn marks on it the next day, and I was like, Mom, but why did you do it? I mean, I can live without it, but that was her nature. Very much so, her nature. And another thing I was thinking about the other day actually was on parikrams. She loved going on parikrams, and most of you who knew her knew that she always walked with a limp. I mean, my whole life I don't remember my mom, having great health or, fair health. She would still insist on going on parikrams. She would walk, go down parikram. I'm not sure if she's ever done by foot. I know she did it by bullock cart, if I recall correctly. Yamaraj's mom, I remember that one year. We did it with Gurudev, but as much as she could, she would walk. How she would get the enthusiasm, the energy, the vigor to just keep going, I do not know. It was always surprising to us. But she really did continue. And even last year when we were going to serve Gurudev at Govardhan, she asked if she could come. And we asked her, can you walk? And she's like, yes, I can lift my legs. Karuna asked her, she was on the bed already, and she couldn't lift her leg, but she really just wanted to come again on parikram. Another thing she always did when we were kids, whatever issues we had, whether it was bad health or something with, school results or friends or anything, she would always chant Nishingadev prayers. And that really, was imparted on me for sure. Very much attached to Nishingadev. And as many devotees were saying, she was very sincere in her chanting. I mean, she waited over 40 years to take initiation because those vows were so sincere to her that she wanted to ensure that she could chant those 16 rounds. And with her hands and things like that, it was such a problem. But she would have this calendar behind her bedroom door and she would mark off, how many rounds still to be covered up, and she would really try to cover them up. I mean, when we would go on holidays lately, she already knew what number of rounds she had to cover up, and her hand was in her japa bag, always chanting while we continued with everything else, just so she could complete her rounds and maintain her vows. Even in her altered states lately, I mean, I'm not around that much. I don't live here in Durban anymore, and she would really, really, really try to chant. In October, November, she was like, I remember I stayed in the room there with her that day, flew in the morning, and she was just staring out the window, with a blank look, and it was sad to see because usually she would use all of this time to chant. Later on in the day, that's exactly what she did. Somehow or the other, she, just started mumbling. She wasn't really cognizant, she didn't really recognize me, but she still continued. She still persisted in that state, which is just so inspiring. A few days ago when we were there, we tried to get some solids in her. She just kept chanting. She didn't want to be disturbed with food. And Karuna made such wonderful prasad, and she was more interested in chanting. We hope that she was aware of the Lord in this altered state. I mean, she was chanting, we pray so. Prabhupada was chanting continuously. I remember when I went there in October, I could barely hear her. And, I wanted to put it off. And my dad reminded me, it's for her, keep it going. So Prabhupada was always chanting there in her room throughout her entire time while she was in bed from April. Prabhupada says actually in Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, Verse 1, one need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. And she really just focused on it as much as possible. So a lesson from her as well. Gurudev mentioned the other day at the crematorium that she made us devotees, and Karna and I were driving one of these days after the funeral, and we were saying we would not be devotees were it not for her. And, beyond that, I think lots of people may know that she made us devotees, but beyond that, she also did so with many family members. My gran, just before she passed, her mum was chanting. Every single day she would chant. I think it was minimum 4 rounds or something. A few of my cousins chant, my aunts chant, some are vegetarian as well. All of this by her Shakti, her faith and enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness did inspire so many around her. Without her even, actively trying to, force it upon them, just her love for the Mahamantra was transferred to them and they started chanting. So we pray that all of you take these lessons that we've learned. Hopefully it is something that we've already imbibed. If not, these were the things that really, were very close to her. Chanting her rounds, finishing her rounds, maintaining her vows, finishing those 16 rounds, and her mood of service. Whatever we do, we should always try to remember Krishna and always serve him. And Prabhupada says also in Bhagavatam 10.1, 5-7, if at the time of death one can remember Krishna, one's life is successful. And how do we remember something at the time of death? Everything that we've been constantly been engaged in throughout our life. And this is where her mind was focused. Serving the Lord's devotees and chanting. Very much so her focus. So we all humbly with folded palms, very, very humbly beg all of you to please give her your blessings, to return to the lotus feet of the Lord. This was her desire, actually, that this be her last birth. So we humbly pray that you all give her the blessings, that her soul does return to Goloka Vrindavan, and hopefully this is her last birth. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sorry, we'll just continue with the vote of thanks. Do you want to? Okay, so there were so many devotees who helped Mom and Dad as well, you know, from the many months ago that she really, really took a downturn. Sita Priyamachi is here. Yes, here, Ram Charan Prabhu. They would oftentimes, you know, go deliver prasad for Mom and things like that because, yeah, we went around. Mother Roshni from Tangat also started recently, I believe, also taking some prasad through. So we really do appreciate all of those devotees. My cousin Rita, have to mention her. She's always been there. She's, yeah, not just a cousin, more of a sister. Also helping throughout. And then these past few days where I don't think any of us expected what happened to have happened. I mean, we were here. Karana was supposed to be cooking lunch for Gurudev, and there was a whole day planned, only for my dad to call and say he doesn't think that she's breathing anymore. But all of these devotees, I mean, I remember we were still on the N2, and Deva phoned Aravinda Prabhu, and Aravinda Prabhu just made himself available immediately. I mean, this was New Year's Eve. So thank you so much, Aravinda Prabhu. I think, you know, growing up in the Namahata with Aravinda Prabhu leading us and guiding us, as I said, these verses. I mean, I learned so many Bhagavad Gita verses because of Prabhu. Tulsi, thank you so very much for all of the association, for all of the service this past few days. Aravinda Prabhu, I mean, was with us throughout all of these days, so we really are very, very grateful. To my Uncle Alec and Auntie Saras as well. They've always been there, always, 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 for everyone within the family, so we're very appreciative of that. I mean, Uncle Alec was the one actually who phoned Karana as we were on the way there to say that it has been confirmed. The paramedics did confirm that, so beyond that, they've always been supporting us throughout, from childhood. And then, sorry, I'm laughing here because I'm trying to remember everyone's names who have so kindly assisted us. We also really want to thank Ananda Vrindavan. I mean, Ananda's always there. I just picked up the phone. We were trying to arrange everything in between here and there. Someone arranged this, someone arranged that, and she immediately just agreed, you know, to assist us with the altar and whatever else we needed. She's always been there, so huge thanks. She's also helped Mum when we went around for many, many years. She was always there supporting everyone. To Mother Rasamrita, huge thanks as well, you know. Karana's deities were at home. And there was no chance of us going back to her house from Changat. And Karna really wanted my mom to do parikrama around Giriraj one more time. And she got Giriraj there. All the way from Pietermaritzburg. And then also just a huge thanks to Mother Yamanangi and her whole team. She's just been, you know, handling so many things that we've not had to, you know, get involved in. She has the whole team behind her. To the Kirtaniyas, thank you so much for all these days assisting. It's always very nice. I mean, we were sitting there at the funeral, I was listening to Kirtan. It was just so nourishing and comforting for me especially, anyway. So for all those other devotees that I've forgotten to mention by name, my sincerest apologies. There's just been a lot going on, of course. We've tried to remember as many devotees as possible, but all of the devotees, friends, family, neighbors, etc., thank you all. During Mum's entire illness, during these last few days, etc., a huge and sincere thanks to you. And thank you to all of you who've attended today. It is a courtesy. I know it's the festive season. There's a lot of family around, a lot of people who are not in town, etc. So thank you so much for making it. I think Krishangi will speak to the rest of the program. There's just a few more items on the program. But we hope that you really do enjoy the prasad. Karna, as Ananda said, that she loves serving the devotees, especially with prasad. She's one of the best. She's the best cook I know anyway. She has insisted on making a few preps. So please, we really hope that you enjoy that in Relishat, and then travel safely wherever you may be traveling to. The roads are not necessarily safe yet. I think we still have a lot of people getting high on things they should not be getting high on. So rather than kirtan on some other intoxicants. So travel safely, and we hope to see you at Radharadhana Temple again. Family members as well who may not come, you know. As much as the devotees do, please do come, take darshan. Radharadhanath is very, very merciful. I grew up in front of Radharadhanath. So yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gopi, and I know that wasn't easy. Gopi had actually prepared something to speak at the crematorium on, when was that, Saturday. And seated there, I just felt that she was so strong and so brave to come forward. And again this afternoon, and that just exemplifies the roots that she has come from. And as we've shared this afternoon in terms of George Prabhu and Vaishnavi Priya Mataji, you know, just raising exemplary daughters and granddaughters now, it's just something that we can just admire in terms of her legacy that she's left. And Karuna, I think Prasadam has come out very strongly this afternoon, and that's also another way of service. Deva Prabhu, you know, just the support in terms of the leadership roles that you're, Karunamai, and as well as yourself. And that is the foundation in terms of George Prabhu and Vaishnavi Priya Mataji that has given to both of you to take Krishna consciousness forward. Thank you also, Gopi, for inviting all the family members to come again to Shri Shri Radha Radhanath. And that's the mood of Vaishnava Priya, as we've heard, in terms of just promoting Krishna consciousness. We will now sing this bhajan together and then go forward with Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada and to Mataji. So just to put this bhajan in context, this is a bhajan that was written by Narottam Das Thakur, and he is an acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. All of the 6 Goswamis that we see on the altar had left this planet. His dearmost friend, Srivasacharya, had left the planet. His very confidential associate, Ramachandra Kaviraj, had also left the planet. And Narottam Das Thakur then wrote this bhajan that we will now sing together, Jai Anilo Premadhana. It is a bhajan that we sing when a loved one, a departed Vaishnav, is not present with us anymore. And as Gopi has actually begged for prayers for us to pray for Vaishnavi Priya Mataji and her soul. But actually this bhajan also invites us to pray to her and beg for her to guide our spiritual life. So it's a two-way, very, very spiritual and very heart-rendering bhajan that I'd like to invite you to take this opportunity to connect inwardly so that we can connect at the beginning of another year and pray to Mataji also to share her qualities with us. And also Guru Puja thereafter, and then there will be Prasadam that will be served in the marquee. So thank you once again for being present, and to Karunamai, Gopi, Devadeva Prabhu, George Prabhu, and the grandchildren, we are all here for you. Definitely, Srila Prabhupada built a home in which the whole world can live in. Hare Krishna. Could just turn to face Srila Prabhupada and the photo of Mother Vaishnava Priya.
Songbook, where is it? Hare Krishna. Je anilo preme dhana karuna prachar Karuna prachar Jayanila preme dhana Karuna prachar Hena Prabhu Kota Gila Acharya Thakur Hena Prabhu Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kaha mora swarup rupa Kaha sanatan Kaha dasaraghu nata patita pavan Kaha mora bhatta yugha Kaha kavira Ekakale kota gela goranatara. Pasane kutiba mata anala pasibo ibo mata anale pasibo Gauranga gonera Nidhi kota gela pabo Gauranga gonera Sheshabha shangire ashange Jai koilo bila Ashangira Shange Sheshangana Paye Kande Narato Mada Jaya Nila Premadhana Corona Pracho Premadhana Corona Pracho Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Jaya Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Heno Prabhu Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya. Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jai Vaishnavi Priya Mataji ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So we can rise for the Aarti. Hare Krishna. So we will take some of those flower petals and offer them to Srila Prabhupada and retain a portion of those flowers in your hand, and then bring them to the frame of Vaishnava Priya Mataji and offer that prasad that has been now offered to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarva Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarva Padomo Visavadana Bhate Padomo Visavadana Bhate Yada Prasade Bhai Bhavato Yaha Yada Prasade Bhai Bhavato Krishna Prabhu Hoya Hote Krishna Prabhu Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Harana Kori Obare Asha Asha Shri Guru Charane Radhe Hesi Udamagate Shri Guru Charane Radhe Hesi Udamagate Prasade More Savasha Prasade More Savasha Shagudade Shami Shami Pramose Shagudade Shami Shami Pramose Divigani de Progasito Divigani de Progasito Prima Bhakti Jao de Avina Vina Sajate Prima Bhakti Jao de Avina Vina Sajate Didega Chahara Charito Didega Chahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Vadamajana Padu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Vadamajana Padu Lokena Lokena Jivana Lokena Lokena Jivana Prabhu Godadoya De Amore Parachaya Prabhu Godadoya De Amore Parachaya Vedega Jintu Jimubada Jila Prabhupada Padita Bhavada Shila Prabhupada Padita Bhavada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Vaisnava Thakur Vaisnava Thakur Vaisnava Thakur Jaya Vaisnava Thakur Jaya Vaisnava Thakur Vaisnava Thakur Vaisnava Thakur Jaya Vaisnava Thakur Pita Gora Dibo 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 Jai. Hari Hari Bol.